Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the 13 books that I read in September. So let's get to it. So I am at September. Like I said, I read 13 books for a total of 4,708 pages. Compared to August, I have about 500 pages less than in August. But my average rating was 4.58. And compared to August, that is 8/100ths of a star better. Per day, I read about 151 pages, and per book, I had 362 pages, which is way more than in August. In August, my books were about average 295 pages per book. 5 of the books that I read were adult, 5 of them were middle grade, and 3 were YA. 4 were physical copies, 6 were digital copies, and 5 were audio copies. Again, some of my books are I dual read, so I might have read the physical copy and listened to the audio, and I just put both in my wrap up, so that's a little bit different. But I read 2 nonfiction books and 1 fiction book, which is up from last month when I didn't have any nonfiction books, so that is good. 6 of the books that I read were ARCs. 1 was a reread, and 5 were buddy reads or read-alongs. That's a lot. All right. So, first of all, I read Last Witness by Svetlana Alexienovich. This was an ARC that actually came out on August 31st. I didn't read it in time to go on my September or my August wrap up. But Last Witness is nonfiction, and it is the young adult reader's edition of the book. And it has different stories from Polish individuals who were separated from their parents during World War II. Some of them after the war were reunited. Some after the war were never reunited with their family again. It was kind of difficult to read some of the stories that were in this compilation, and some of the stories were very stream of consciousness and a little bit hard to follow. However, I really did learn a lot about what they went through during World War II, and that really was the goal of the book. So I'm glad that I read it. The next book that I read was Willowdean by Katherine Applegate. Katherine Applegate is the author of The One and Only Ivan, The One and Only Bob, Wish Tree, all kinds of great whimsical fantasy stories, and Willowdean is no exception. In this one, Willowdean is a young girl that loves nature, especially screechers. And screechers are the ugliest animal in the land that she lives in this fantasy novel. And the other people in the town do everything they can to get rid of the screechers and celebrate only the hummingbirds creatures. But what they find is that in perchance, the town that Willowdean lives in, the hummingbirds are coming less and less to their town when they migrate, and they don't know why. It is a really cute, whimsical book. It also has a lot of ecological questions in it that really make you think about actual everyday things. It was really adorable. I absolutely loved it. And it was great. Wonderful, wonderful middle grade novel. The next book that I read was What About Will by Ellen Hopkins. This was an ARC as well. This would definitely be high upper middle grade, maybe borderline YA. This is a novel in verse, and Trace is the main character telling the story, and his older brother Will was hurt during a football game, and his personality changes a lot in his attempts to cope with the situation he now finds himself in. And Trace is really trying to figure out his own life and how he relates to his brother in the aftermath of all of that happening as well. It's a really beautiful story. It surprised me how fast I read this book. It was absolutely unputdownable. It propelled me forward so quickly, and it was just really, really beautiful. But again, I wouldn't put it in the hands of my younger middle grade readers. I would put it in the hands of my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Trace is in 7th grade, I believe, but the problems that he talks about dealing with are largely 18-year-old problems because Will is 18 years old. So I would think about it before putting it into the hands of somebody younger than probably 6th grade, and maybe even then. It's marketed for 10 to 12 years, and I don't think that's it just seems more mature to me, but it is what it is, and there probably are 10-year-olds out there that would absolutely love this book and really hold on to it. But I just feel like to get the most out of it, I would say you'd want to be a little bit more mature. The next book that I read was The Only Plane in the Sky by Garrett M. Graff, and this is the oral history of 9/11. I listened to it in audio. It was so fabulous. And it was a buddy read set up by Amanda at the Curly Reader. I was so immersed in these stories. I was a freshman in college when 9/11 happened, and hearing these different perspectives was just amazing. And it really helped me think about how I can best present 9/11 to my students who no longer who were not alive during 9/11 and never lived in a pre-9/11 world. So their idea of what it should have been like on 9/11 is very different because of how they've grown up. So it was really eye-opening to me just to read, especially the children's perspectives, where they went from the 5-year-olds and what they remembered up until freshmen in college, which was me, and what they went through as they experienced 9/11. And also, I really liked the astronaut story. He was the only American not on earthen soil on the day of 9/11, and his perspective was really cool. I actually played that part for my students, and they thought it was pretty cool. The next book that I finished was A Soft Place to Land by Janae Marks. This was an ARC middle grade. I was really excited to get this ARC because I loved From the Front Desk of Zoe Washington, which was Janae Marks's debut middle grade novel, and this is her follow-up. It was wonderful. Joy is just a wonderful character. I just loved her, and her family had a financial situation where they had to sell their house, and they moved into an apartment building. And this apartment building sounds like the most wonderful place in the world to live. Honestly, it was just all of the people there, so great. But of course, Joy feels saddened by the fact that she had to leave behind her old home. And as much as she does really enjoy her new apartment life, she still misses the fact that she's at home. So she wants to do things to help her parents buy back their house. So her goal is to make money. So she starts a dog walking business. It's just very fun. I think budding entrepreneurs would really get a kick out of it. I think it takes a hard look at mental health and dealing with grief and hard times, not only in Joy's situation, but in other characters as well. And it was just a really fun book that handled hard situations. So I would definitely recommend A Soft Place to Land by Janae Marks. The next book that I read was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I read this for the Book Talk After Dark book club for my local library. It's the retelling of Achilles' story, told through the point of view of Patroclus. I found the ending of this book to be 5 stars, but up until that point, I was pretty ambivalent to what was happening. I mean, I thought it was cute and I thought it was interesting, but I wasn't like, oh. But then once I got to the end, I was like, oh. So whatever you want to take with that in your thoughts of this book, I did enjoy it. But I didn't love it. Like so many people have loved it. I didn't love it. And I don't know. I don't know what it was, but there you have it. The next book that I read was Crumb and Punishment by Georgiana Daniels. This was an ARC, and it's a cozy mystery. Georgiana Daniels sent this to me personally because I'm on Team Crumb. And here we have the second book in the Casey Crumb mystery series. Casey is still in her hometown and still hanging out with her grandma and all her friends. And Verity, who is the youngest member of her grandma's posse before Casey comes back into town. Casey and Verity are just a great team. I just love them so much. They're so fun. And here we have the town gossip murdered in the local ice cream store. And the ice cream store's owner is, the one that everybody has their eyes on as being the murderer. And that's one of Casey's grandma's friends' beaux. So they have to clear his name, right? Oh my gosh. It's adorable. The old ladies are adorable and strong and just kick booty. And I just really like them. And it's a fun, cozy mystery series. I highly recommend the Casey Crumb series by Georgiana Daniels. Lots of fun stuff there. The next book that I finished was Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This was my one reread of the month. It was a read-along for the Lunar Along hosted by Bakara and A-Star Reads. And it is part of the Lunar Chronicles. I love the Lunar Chronicles. I was just absolutely on game for a reread when I heard that they were doing this Lunar Along. And I'm so glad that I am visiting this series again. I know that a couple months ago this summer, I read the last graphic novel addition onto the Lunar Chronicles, and I was so sad that I wouldn't be able to read these books again for the first time. And honestly, it's still good. It's still good. I don't know, but I love Scarlett. I think she's so strong. I love Aiko in this book even more than in the last book. Cinder is such a strong character still, and Wolf and Kai, like they're just, the characters in these books are so good and so strong and so wonderful, and I just love it. So yeah, it was still 5 stars for me, so I loved it. The next book that I finished was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This was another read-along. This is part of the ghpARC World 2021 read-along. I have always liked the movie Jurassic Park, the first one, like the 1993 one. I've always liked that. I've never seen any of the other movies beyond that. Although my nephew has, and he's always told me that I should watch them. I just haven't. He kind of inspired me to want to read the book. And then this read along came along and I was like, yeah, let's jump on that. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the movie. I was surprised by how little the, there's a lot of science talk that isn't always my favorite thing in the world, but it was really interesting, even though I guess it wasn't very accurate according to some of the people that were in the chat at the live show, but it was really interesting and really fun to hear book talk in that way or science talk in that way. And it was just really easy to read and listen to. And I did listen to it and follow along during some parts in my physical copy. I really, really liked the audio. The same voice narrator that does the Janet Ivanovich Fox and O'Hare series is the narrator for Jurassic Park, and he did a really great job. I just loved it. And I loved how listening to the book evoked such really strong memories of the movie. And I haven't gotten my hands on the movie yet. But I'm pretty sure my sister has it, and I should just get on that and talk to her about borrowing it, but I haven't yet. So, that is the plan to read it within the next, couple weeks here. The next book that I read was The War I Finally Won by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This was the second book that came after The War That Saved My Life that I read in August. And I have just read a duology, the full duology, in 2 months, one in each month. You have my permission to be impressed. This is a great conclusion to Ada's story. I loved Ada again. Her brother, Jamie, I love him. There were definitely parts that I just cried while I was reading it. Again, it takes place during World War II. So all of the trials that go along with a World War II book were there. And it just, the addition of several strong characters in this one as well was just really intriguing and really fun. And I just really loved it. And I'm sad because now I've read it and I can't read it again. But that's okay. I'll reread it sometime, I bet. The next book that I read was Dessert is the Bomb by Catherine Bruns. This was another ARC from Gemma Halliday Publishing. And this is the 11th book in the Cookies and Chance Mystery series. I really just love this series so much. And the more I get to know the characters, the more I just love them, all of them. They're just amazing. In this one, there is a new detective and in town, and I didn't realize that I could hate a detective so much as I hate this guy. I don't even know his name, but man alive, was he terrible. On purpose. You're supposed to hate him. So I really did enjoy the story, and I loved the Halloween atmosphere. So it's just great. Again, it's the 11th one in the series, so I'm not going to get too into it, but man, this is a good series to check out. The next book that I read was Titanium Ticket by Chris Grabenstein, and this is the 5th book in the Mr. Limoncello series, Mr. Limoncello's library series. This was kind of a different addition to the series. The first books focus on Kyle Keeley and his group of friends, and this one focuses on a completely different set of kids. Kyle Keeley is there and his friends are there, but they're not the focus of the story. So it's kind of an interesting new perspective, kind of like the Saved by the Bell, the new class kind of thing. There were some storylines that felt a little recycled to me from the first one, but there was also a lot of intriguing elements to this story that weren't in the first couple books, and I really liked that. All the great puzzles from the previous books are still there, so I would definitely still recommend it. And then the last book that I finished in September was my buddy read with Krista, and that was Everblaze, the 3rd book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. And this by far is, so far, my favorite in the series. I just, there was just so much information was revealed in this book. So much. It was so good. It was just so good. I mean, again, it's the 3rd in the series. I'm not going to say a whole lot, but man, if you are on the fence about reading the Keeper of the Lost Cities series, give it a try. Both Krista and I have been transfixed on these books since we started our buddy read in July. So good. So good. Just read it, y'all. Anyway, those are the 13 books that I read. It wasn't a heavy reading month for me in terms of the number of books, but it was a wonderful book in the wonderful month in the quality of books that I read. I would love to know what your favorite books of September were and what else you've been reading. I would love to hear from you down in the comments. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.